Hello everybody, I'm Kelly Coleman and today I will be teaching the importance of the muffin method. Many of you will think the muffin method is just a boring old procedure of combining wet and dry mixtures, but you're wrong. This method is very particular about keeping the wet mixture and the dry mixture separate. The wet mixture usually consisting of eggs, soft or liquid fat, milk, and sugar, separate from the dry mixture, usually a flour mix. And then you combine them with a well, but we'll talk about this more later. The recipe I am making today is homemade blueberry muffins. It makes 15 muffins, and I have all the ingredients here already measured, and here's what they consist of. 2½ cups of all-purpose flour, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, half a teaspoon of salt, 1 1/4 cups of brown sugar, which was already compacted, half a cup of softened butter, 1 large egg, 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, a cup of buttermilk, and lastly 1½ cups of fresh frozen blueberries. I will be using fresh blueberries rather than frozen blueberries to give more of a fresh muffin. Now, what if you want to make this recipe on the spot and you have all the ingredients except for the buttermilk? A helpful hint is you can make your own buttermilk. Another important tip when using the muffin method is to not use a standing or hand mixer when combining the liquid and dry ingredients. It's okay if you use it just to combine all the liquid ingredients, but when mixing together, don't use it. And the reason is because you'll be over mixing and it'll ruin the tunnel. By using hand mixing, you'll get a better result. In addition to me making just plain old blueberry muffins, I'm going to make a crumb to go on top. The ingredients here are already measured, and it consists of 1 1/3 cup of granulated sugar, 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour, 2 teaspoons of ground cinnamon, 2 tablespoons of softened butter, and then these are extra blueberries that will be pressed onto the top of the muffins before going in the oven. First, let's talk more about the muffin method. One of the most important steps into making the muffin method, is creating a well into the dry ingredients before adding the liquids. This method might sound similar to the 2-stage mixing method, in which you coat the flour with a good amount of fat to inhibit gluten formation. But the muffin method doesn't have that. Instead, we mix a ton of wet ingredients on a poor defenseless flour. So, we use low protein flour, which equals less gluten formation. Also, the way they are mixed is different. During this method, we do more of a folding motion to combine the ingredients. A tip when mixing is to count to 10. Sometimes counting to 10 can be too short, and you don't want to have a bunch of unmixed flour in your muffins. Not that it's a bad thing, because it'll end up getting absorbed, but it doesn't look the best. So, you can always just mix the flour until it is all off the bottom of the bowl. Now it's time to begin. First, we have to set the oven to 425 degrees. Then you're going to want to either spray your muffin tins with nonstick cooking spray or line them with muffin liners. But today I'm going to use nonstick cooking spray. And another tip is to spray it over the sink to create less of a mess. Then you want to get a large mixing bowl and you want to put in your flour, your baking soda and baking powder, and your salt. You're going to want to whisk these ingredients, and then after that, set the bowl aside. Then you want to get a medium bowl and you want to make your liquid mixture. So you want to combine your egg, the buttermilk, the vanilla, the brown sugar, and your softened butter. And now I'm going to use a hand mixer to mix all this together. Now for the most important step. You're going to create a well, a little hole in the center of your dry ingredients. And then, after you do that, after there's a nice little well, you're going to want to pour your liquid ingredients in. After you put the liquid ingredients in, it's now time to fold them together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now that you have your very thick batter, you're going to want to put in the blueberries. Another tip for making blueberry muffins is to put flour on the blueberries so they do not bleed as much. And then you just want to fold those in. Not too much though, you don't want to overmix. Now that you have your blueberries folded in, set aside just for a minute while you make your crumb. And to do this, you're going to want to put in your flour, your sugar, your cinnamon, and the 2 tablespoons of softened butter. And you can use your hand mixer for this as well. After the crumb is made, you can return to your batter, and you can start using an ice cream scoop, which is very helpful, to make your muffins. The ice cream scoop helps make them all the same size. Now that you have your muffins scooped into the muffin tins, you can put the crumb that you make on top of some of them. I'm only going to do it on about half of them. But on the other half, I will end up putting blueberries pressed into the top of them, especially ones that didn't get as much blueberries like this one. Just press a few into the top of them. Now it's time to bake. We will put the muffins in the oven for about 5 minutes at 425 degrees. After 5 minutes, we will come back and reduce the temperature. After 5 minutes have passed, you are going to want to decrease the temperature to 350 degrees for about 12 minutes and then check on them. After the timer has gone off, you're always going to want to check a muffin and put a toothpick in the center of it to see if it's done. You're going to want to choose a muffin in the center of the pan. And if it comes out clean, they're ready to come out. After they come out of the oven, you're going to want to take the muffins out of the pan. A good trick is to flip them upside down onto a cooling rack as soon as possible. If you leave the muffins in the pan too long after you take them out of the oven, it'll lead to dry and overcooked muffins, and you don't want that. So that's why you have to take them out and put them on the rack as soon as possible. To get the consistency of a normal muffin, the important thing to remember about the muffin method is the separation of ingredients, combining them with a well, and how you mix. Remember to not overmix because you don't want tunneling. Now let's see if this muffin has it. The inside looks very moist. Let's taste it. Very moist.